And thank you for signing up for my class, Flipped Learning 2.0, Flipping Methods and Emerging Ideas. We want to explore the idea of flipped learning in schools, how it's being used, uh, maybe discuss when we get together what are some of the advantages and what you found that works for you. So let's look at why we want to even be interested in this topic, right? We've seen this in many classrooms around the world. Certainly at Xavier, we've seen this, hopefully not often, but every now and then I think this happens. All right, we've got the teacher at the front of the room. The students are uninvolved. It's not interactive. They're, at the worst case scenario, sleeping through the lecture. Uh, because the students aren't interacting and they're not much is being expected of them, they of course are finding their own ways of creating interaction in the classroom. So we want to move away from that model, that sort of teacher centered, to more of a student centered model. Teacher centered being more, here's the information, I'm presenting it to you. It's one pace, it's one size fits all, versus the student centered approach, which is more giving them direct access to the information and allowing them to engage with the information at their own pace according to their own abilities. So let's look at some of the ways that flipped learning is, what some of the models are being used now. Standard inverted, discussion oriented, demonstration focused, the fall flipped, the group based, the virtual, and then of course, flipping the teacher. We're going to look at each one of these. First, let's look at the standard inverted classroom. This is probably the most common. Uh, Students are inside the assigned homework. Like they're watching a video of a lecture or they're reading any materials that are relevant to the next day's class. So rather than the teacher giving the lecture during class time, they're posting a video of the lecture, or they might be sharing a video on YouTube about a particular topic, or a Khan Academy video about a particular topic, and even using the textbook materials to ask the students questions to engage after they've watched the video, maybe taking notes while they're watching the video. And then when they come in to the next day, they've got themselves freed up. The time is not being spent fully for the lecture, but there are activities related to that lecture that the students can engage in, and the teacher can provide individual attention to the students. This is the standard inverted classroom. Um, the discussion oriented flipped classroom, uh, teachers can assign lecture videos as well as any other video or recording related to the day's subject, similar to like TED Talks, YouTube videos, other resources, similar to the standard model, but class time is devoted primarily to discussion and exploration of the subject. This can be especially useful in subjects where context is everything, like history and art or English. The ability for the students to get together and talk about the lesson that they looked at from the night before. And then we have the demonstration focused flipped classroom. This is the one that I use primarily the most. And this is where the teacher actually uses software on their computer to record themselves going through and capturing what they're doing on the screen. So I use a program called Screencastify. It's a Google Chrome add-on. There's another one called Loom, which is really good, and I've read a lot of good reviews about. The teacher records the screen as they're drawing or demonstrating the way a problem works, and then again, the students come in and the teacher can help them work through whatever problems they might have had or encountered while working out the problems from the night before. This is especially helpful in subjects like chemistry, physics, just about every math class. It's helpful for them to have a demonstration video that they can rewind and rewatch. And I've found this to be very effective in my classroom. The fall flipped classroom is a model that instead of the students watching the lecture video at home, they're watching it in class, giving them the opportunity to review the material at their own pace with the teacher there, able to move around from student to student to offer whatever individual support each of the students might need. This obviously requires more, um, resources, because you have to have a computer lab in order for this to work, or all students to have access to technology. The group-based flipped classroom, similar to the others, only that there is some designed group activity that follows for the students to engage in during the class time. Again, the teacher moving from group to group, answering questions, more of a mentor and a guide through the process of learning. You have the virtual flipped classroom, which is mostly for college level students, where their entire course is online. They're engaging with the teacher through discussion forums or learning management systems like Blackboard or Schoology or Moodle. There may be some office hours where the student and the teachers meet together periodically, but most of the class is done virtually. And then finally, the flipping the teacher model, where students are asked and expected to record themselves or record their own screens as they solve problems and produce their own content, their own camera, whether it be a webcam or a small USB microphone, to produce videos and then send those videos that they've produced to their peers or post them online in a forum or to their teacher to demonstrate their proficiency in a particular topic. And one of the reasons I really like this model, and I think it's really useful, particularly for math, is that the students can demonstrate the steps of solving a particular problem, and the teacher will have a really good window into where the majority of the students are messing up, where they might be having difficulty in a particular concept. Maybe more than one student is dealing with the same type of deficiency. Those students can be addressed together the next day in class to help them overcome their particular deficiencies. So those are the main modes of flipping the classroom and flipping learning. And so we're going to have a discussion about those modes and what might be best and what you've used. And in order to help us have that discussion, I've created a Google Classroom. And what I'd like for you to do is, once you've joined the Google Classroom, um, if you have flipped before, then answer the questions under that question topic. Which method or methods have you used? Which method have you found to be particularly helpful for student outcomes? What tools have you found to be helpful? And then what would you like to try next? And then maybe you're taking this class and you've never flipped before. What factors have prevented you from trying to do it? What method do you think out of the ones that I've just detailed would suit your classroom best, and why? And then what could you do this year to begin incorporating these methods into your classroom? So I invite you to go to the Google Classroom page and answer those questions. And then when we get together, we'll have a discussion and kind of talk about some of the best practices that maybe others who are taking the class have used. I can share with you what I've done, and we can have a nice time together just talking about how this method might work for you. So see the Google Classroom. I've also provided a list of resources and tools that you could refer to and that might help you get started, or maybe there's some ideas on there that you hadn't considered, and you can check those out too. Okay, thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you guys all when we have the class.